I want to begin by saying that conflict in marriage is inevitable. You probably know that. You're two people who come from different backgrounds, you have different personalities, different and sometimes even competing needs, you play different roles, and so will inevitably see things in a different way. This is not bad. In fact, it's good and can make your relationship stronger and help you achieve greater levels of intimacy if you learn to handle conflict well. Of course, some conflicts are minor and you work through them quickly and easily, but others are a lot more complex. They take greater sensitivity and skill to work them through. Learning to do so is critical to your long-term growth into more mature love. I want to share a model with you to help you navigate through conflict. Here's the key moment model. A potentially upsetting event occurs. Let's say your partner's critical of one of your parents. Your spouse is late after you've planned a really nice meal. Your partner bought something expensive and didn't talk to you first. I could go on and on. Such events trigger your thoughts. Your thoughts then determine your feelings. Your feelings drive your behavior, and your behavior determines your results. So here's the conflict model, which is a modified and even more elaborate version of the key moment model. It begins with an event, which triggers your thoughts and feelings, but notice after your thoughts and feelings is a moment of choice. And let me define this as a moment of awareness and personal power when you make a decision about how to respond. It's easy in the middle of conflict to simply react and act out your negative thoughts and feelings. Instead, you want to learn to step back and choose how to respond to this conflict rather than just have a knee-jerk reaction. You want to use your awareness and your personal power to act in ways that will lead to positive outcomes. And in fact, there's a lot you can do in this moment of choice to put yourself in a good space psychologically to respond well to this conflict or to any conflict. For example, you and your partner are talking and you become aware that it's escalating into an argument and you're starting to defend yourself and blame him or her. Well, it's a moment of choice. You decide to interrupt this pattern, and you can do so in many ways. You can take some deep breaths. Perhaps you soften your eyes and face. You relax your arms and shoulders. You let your partner know that you really don't want to fight. Maybe you ask for a timeout to get a little bit of space and distance to soothe yourself before you continue talking. Or maybe you say something playful or humorous to break the tension. The point is, there are lots of things that you can do. Your intent is to stop what's happening from getting out of hand and escalating into a bigger issue. But it's only possible to do that if you're aware, if you know that you're in a moment of choice and willing to commit to making a good choice. But if you're unaware of what's happening, or if strong emotions are coming up that overrule your reason, you're going to react from fear or hostility, leading you into the cycle of weakening behavior in which you fall back to your native style of dominate, accommodate, or avoid, and thereby set up a negative dance like criticism or escalation or invalidation or pursue and withdraw, some of those toxic patterns that I've talked about earlier. Well, as this diagram illustrates, negative and usually unintended consequences flow from these behaviors. You feel more resentment and more ill will. You're embroiled in power struggles. There's a diminishing of personal responsibility. Problems go unsolved, etc. On the other hand, when you choose to break this pattern and respond to the conflict from trust rather than fear, you're making the choice to collaborate rather than dominate, accommodate, or avoid. And that choice is going to lead to positive outcomes like emotional safety, trust, goodwill, sense of unity with your partner, and win-win interactions. Remember that as you collaborate, you're doing two things. You're willing to be honest about your own thoughts, feelings, and needs, and also show empathy to your partner so that they can do the same. That's the way out of unproductive conflict. And I call this the cycle of strengthening behavior. I want you to notice the arrows coming out of the moment of choice. Whether we move downwards toward the cycle of weakening behavior or upwards towards the cycle of strengthening behavior depends a lot on the assumptions that are going on in your head. If your deepest assumptions and self-talk are fear-based, you'll move toward weakening behavior. Well, fear-based assumptions sound like conflict is bad, this isn't going to go well, I can't say what I really think, my partner doesn't care what I want, I might get hurt, and so on. Negative assumptions lead to negative behavior, which leads to negative outcomes. So to change the dynamic, you have to look inside your own head at your own assumptions and self-talk in your moment of choice. If you want to move into collaboration in the cycle of strengthening behavior, then you have to make trust-based assumptions, which sound like, we really want the same things. We can work this out if we talk openly and listen to each other. My partner will listen to me if I listen to her. We can use our differences to arrive at better solutions, and so on. The point that I'm making is that the change begins in you, inside your head. Are your assumptions fear-based or trust-based? Are you willing to make trust-based assumptions to move into collaboration? Truly, I believe that your relationship merits you making trust-based assumptions. And you would probably agree that your spouse is essentially a good person. Like you, your spouse wants a happy marriage, would prefer harmony and good feelings, and would like to work together to solve your common problems. Certainly there are risks as you challenge and change your assumptions from fear to trust, but there are even bigger rewards.